What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Bryce, and today I'm going to be reading chapter 30 of the Parker Inheritance. Let's begin. Chapter 30. Finally, Brandon yelled as Candace entered his kitchen late Friday afternoon. You finished the book? He and Tori sat at the table with a platter of cookies in front of them. It's so good, Candace said. Then she frowned. Except for the Who family. They were a little stereotypical. Yeah, good point. He rubbed his hands together. So, are you ready to talk about how it applies to the letter? I was thinking about that, Candace said. Were you talking about the part of the book where no spoiling it? Tori said. Tori, you're not going to read it, Brandon said. How do you know? She elbowed him. What? Are you going to say I'm too old for it? Are you going to say I'm too old for it? She looked at Candace. Brandon's been telling me and Mom how they aren't any boy books or girl books. If that's true, there aren't any old people or young people books either. Got a point. Candace glanced at Brandon. Did this have to do with the conversation they had at the library about boy books and girl books? Brandon flashed Candace a quick smile, then turned to his sister. Are you really going to read it? Maybe, if it interests me. Candace pulled the letter from the book, then slid the Weston game to Tori. He popped the last of his cookie into his mouth. Fine, let's go upstairs so we don't spoil it, he said, standing up from the table. So what was your big revelation about the letter? Candace asked as they climbed the stairs. In the Weston game, most of the information you need to solve the puzzle is provided right at the beginning of the story in the will, he said. I bet the letter is doing the same. Makes sense, I guess, Candace said, thinking it through. Siobhan's memorial page stated that she loved the Weston game. Maybe Parker wanted to make sure someone linked his puzzle to that book. They entered the computer room and sat down beside each other on the edge of the bed, like I said at the park. The entire letter is filled with clues. His grin widened. Read the letter again. I've read it 1,000. Just read it again, he said. Candace huffed, but quickly scanned the letter. Okay, so how many numbered clues do you see? He asked. 1. He clapped his hands together. That's what I thought at first, too. Then we saw the bench at the park. She loved all. He slid closer to her and traced his finger along the page until he found what he was looking for. What's the word directly preceding that sentence here? Candace sighed. 4. Exactly. That had me thinking about the Weston game. And I thought, what if he didn't mean for like F-O-R? What if he meant for like F-O-U-R? Candace opened her mouth to argue. Then she closed her mouth. Do you see what I'm talking about? He asked, his pitch rising. Candace was too busy reading the letter. She went line by line and tried to reorganize the words in her head. So here's what it has. Here's what it says. Number 1. Siobhan's father loved tennis, but he grew up idolizing a team in another sport. 2. And number 2. Leanne Washington's days as a volunteer at her church did more for Lambert's children than most people will ever know. Number 3. She was truly greater than the sum of her parts. And number 4. She loved all. She snapped her fingers. Can I borrow a sheet of paper to jot this down? Already did it, Brandon said. He walked to the computer and opened a file. So that got me thinking. We found 3 of the 4 clues. The Luling Oilers is the first clue. Leanne Washington with work with the Women's Missionary Circle is the second. And the park bench is the 4th. Maybe it's the 4th, she said. It's not dated. He nodded. True, but for sure we haven't found the 3rd clue. She was truly greater than the sum of her parts, he said. But maybe it's not something we're supposed to find. Maybe it's not a physical thing. Candace repeated the clue in her head. She was truly greater than the sum of her parts. We need to be adding something up. She looked at the photo of the Washingtons on Brandon's desk. The sum of her parts, her parents. We need to somehow add up her parents. Yep, and that's where I'm stuck, he said. You're the puzzle master. What do we do next? Candace was sure Brandon was saying to soothe her bruised ego. The funny thing was, it actually worked. So we have to add something up about what? Baseball and the church? She wrapped her ponytail around her finger. Tennis was a big part of who she was. Do you remember if there was a score on the trophy at school? I'm pretty sure there wasn't. Let me see what I can find about tennis scoring online. Brandon opened a web browser. He ran a search, clicked a few links, and eventually landed on a page on how the game was played. Candace read over her shoulder. In tennis, both players started at 0, except they called it love. Every time you hit the ball and your opponent couldn't return it, you gained 50 points. 15 points. That is until you scored 3 times. That was 40, not 45. But if you were tied at 40, it was called deuce. And the first person to reach 60 won the game. Except they didn't call it 60, and you had to win by 2 points. Or was that 30 points? You had to win at least 6 games to win a set, and 2 out of 3 sets to win a match. All in all, they read 10 web pages about tennis over the next hour. Maybe we're looking for the wrong numbers, Candace finally said. We should go back to the memorial room and do what? I don't know. I just feel like we're missing something there. Not only is that the first clue, it's the only one that's written to look like a clue. Candace said, he wanted us to start there. Well, while you think about it, I'm going to get more cookies. Once Brandon left, Candace opened up the file with the photos from the community center. She clicked through until she found the photo of Leanne Washington and the Women's Missionary Circle. Mount Carmel Missionary Circle prepares a bake sale to raise funds for Briggs versus Elliott, March 14, 1951. Then she reread the second clue. Leanne Washington's days as a volunteer at her church did more for Lambert's children than most people will ever know. Days as a volunteer, days, date, as in March 14th, 1951. Was that why the date on the photo of the Women's Missionary Group was different than all the other dates? Was that what Parker was trying to get them to notice? She leaned back in the chair and spun in place. Maybe we're reading this too literally. Maybe it's more figurative. Like, if it's a sum, maybe we should convert the clues to numbers, the dates to numbers. But if so, what is the right date for the first clue? She grabbed a sheet of paper and started by adding a date on the photo, March 14, 1951, and the date on the trophy, August 10, 1957. Yeah, it's a lot of numbers to read. I'll do my best. So March 14, 1951 plus August 10, 1957 equals 3,141,000. Equals, I'm just gonna say their numbers: 3141951 plus 8101957 equals 112,43908. She spun around in the chair again. 112,43908 equals I think that's November 24th, 3,908 equals November 24th, 3908. Maybe November 24th, 1939. She looked through the pictures she took at the memorial room, hoping this new date was listed on one of the other photos. It's a weird date. After discovering that none of them matched the date, she restarted the tribute video of Coach Washington. Perhaps they had overlooked something there. She had just fast forward to the part where the video talked about Coach Washington's love for the Luling Oilers when Brandon returned, a plate of cookies in his hand. Shoot, nothing there either, she mumbled, stopping the video. He sat down on the bed, and Candace filled him in on what she had been working on. That's amazing, Brandon said once she finished explaining her new theory. I would have never thought about turning the date into a number. Yeah, well, I'm stuck, she said. I added up the dates, but the solution doesn't make sense. I don't know what it's supposed to mean. Brandon handed her a cookie, then motioned for Candace to move out of the way. Let me do a web search for those dates. Maybe there's a clue there. Candace munched on her cookie as Brandon typed in November 24th, 1939. Nothing of interest popped up, at least not anything that jumped out at them. Brandon then typed in August 10th, 1957, followed by March 14th, 1951. Then November 24th, August 10th, March 14th, and that's when Candace dropped her cookie. That's when she dropped her cookie. Pi Day, she said. Okay, Brandon said. Like the number, she stood. That wouldn't make sense because everybody says that March 14th is Pi Day because it starts with 314. Like the number, she stood, opened the picture up of Leanne Washington. He quickly opened the file. See? She punched her shoulder. Ouch. That's my shooting arm. She's holding a pie. Ouch. That's my shooting arm, Candace. Sorry, she said. But look at the date. March 14th. What are the clue here is P-I, not P-I-E. 3.14. The number you use to calculate the circumference of a circle. She spun her bracelet around her wrist, and maybe it connects with Big Dub's clue, with the Oilers or that guy Mackey. That guy Mackey. He slowly nodded, looking at the computer screen. Well, she asked after a few seconds. What do you think? Finally, she grinned at her. Like I said, you're the puzzle master. And that was chapter 30. So tomorrow we're going to chapter 31. And that's about it. Peace out.